Welcome to our Genie End of Year Readiness Lunch and Learn. Thank you all for joining us. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we stand. Here in Melbourne, this is the Wurundjeri people. I would also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. Installation and Training Consultant at Magenta's Practice Management. Today we'll be focusing on how to finalize your financial data, which reports to generate in Genie, the difference between cash and accrual accounting, and preparing for the new financial year. Following the presentation, I will be joined by Jamie Harper, Senior Marketing Manager, Christopher Lynch, Installation and Training Consultant, Suchandra Chakraborty, our Genie Product Manager, and from the Billing Support Team, Jenny Pringle and Rochelle Muir for Q&A. We encourage you to send in your questions throughout the Lunch and Learn by going to the Q&A button found at the bottom of your webinar screen. Type in your question and click Submit for your question to be sent to our moderators. We'll do our best to address as many as we can during the Q&A. At the close of the webinar, we invite you to spend a couple of minutes completing our survey. We are keen to tailor these sessions to what resonates most with our practices, and we do value and encourage you to leave your thoughts. We hope you enjoy our presentation today. We will now start talking about finalizing your financial data. This includes checking missing invoices, how to check financial data integrity, reconciling your third-party accounts such as Medicare, DVA, and in-hospital claims, and reconcile and sealing the banking. Before generating your end of financial year reports, we recommend that you run a data integrity check to check on your financial data. We normally suggest that this integrity check is run every month before any financial report is generated. The integrity check will look through your finances to ensure that everything balances and that there are no mismatches. So for example, if an account holder has been changed on the invoice after a payment has been applied, the balance table may not always reflect this. To run the billing data integrity check, go to the File menu in the top left. Then select Maintenance and Reports. Click on the Monthly tab along the top, and in the top right, check Integrity. Within the data check window, all 5 tick boxes on the left should be left ticked, and then click on the Check Data button in the lower right. Genie will now scan and review the financial database tables. A list of any issues will appear on the right-hand side, along with the specific problem allocated under Problem Transactions, Sales, Payments, or Accounts. If you encounter any issues within this integrity check, it is strongly advised that you reach out to Genie support for assistance. However, if your integrity check only presents with a problem account, then this can be an easy fix. Double-click on the problem account and then click on Update Balance. Then click on Save. If you do choose to tackle these problems yourself, please be advised that these need to be resolved in the following order: Problem Transactions, Sales, Payments, and then Accounts. Double-clicking on any issues found in the boxes on the left will allow you to review and make the appropriate changes depending on the problem message listed on the right-hand side. If your practice uses accrual accounting, it is very important that all invoices for services provided are issued prior to generating the end of financial year reports. As best practice, to ensure your practice is up to date, we generally recommend that this list is generated at least once a week to ensure all appointments and procedures are billed and accounted for. Click on Appointments from the menu above. Halfway down the list, click on Check Missing Invoices. Click on OK to confirm. Then add in the date range you wish to check. You can also filter out this list by practitioner if required. Otherwise, click on OK. You can then now click on Show Inpatient List to better manage and review patient records before invoicing the patient. In this example, reviewing the patient's account history prior to invoicing, just in case they've already been billed on a different date. Your practice may have provided a number of services where an invoice has been issued but payment has not yet been made. Leading up to the end of financial year, if the practice is doing cash accounting, it is recommended that you try and chase up outstanding accounts so that they can get included in the year's totals. However, if your practice does accrual accounting, as mentioned prior, then these outstanding amounts need to be provided to your accountant via the aged debtors report that we will go through a little bit later. In general, the unpaid invoices should be included in your monthly routine to reprint statements and chase up accounts with individuals and third parties. As part of this process, we also suggest that you have the patient list open. So go to Open, select Patient, and then click on OK. Then go to the File menu and select Maintenance and Reports. Click on the Monthly tab along the top, and then click on Unpaid Invoices. Because we are chasing last-minute outstanding accounts prior to the end of financial year, we suggest that you focus on individuals rather than organizations, Medicare, or DVA. You can filter the list by provider if required. And to show all outstanding accounts, change the owing for more than and owing for less than fields to 0. If you were to generate this report monthly throughout the year, you can then print off patient statements by clicking on the Print Statement button and then mailing or emailing these directly to the patient. However, because we are chasing these in hopes of reconciling before the end of financial year, most practices would call and try to get the patients to pay over the phone. If you wanted to double check to see whether the patient may have been invoiced twice before contacting the account holder, click on the Account History button to review the patient's billing history. To find the account holder's contact details, simply click on the Account Holder button. If you do manage to process the payment over the phone, move the Unpaid Invoice window to the side and then search for the patient in the patient list. Click on the magnifying glass, type in the name, and click on OK. Click to select the patient in the list, then go to the billing menu along the top and click on Receipt. Proceed to process the payment as you normally would. On a side note, if any patients have made any direct deposit payments, these should also be receipted in Genie and backdated with the deposit date to ensure that they appear in the end of financial year totals. Reconciling outstanding third-party accounts such as Medicare and Veteran Affairs, health funds, work covers, etc., is very important to ensure that these payments can be reported in your end of financial year reports. The first area to check is the Bulk Bill and DVA Transmissions window found via the File menu and Maintenance and Reports. Then go to the Daily tab and select Bulk Bill and DVA Transmission. Within this screen, it shows claims that are awaiting a report as a default. It is important that you highlight all of these claims and click on the Retrieve Report button to check if Medicare has processed these claims. Then click on the Awaiting Reports drop-down and select Exceptions to Review. If you see any claims in this list, check to see if the paid column has any values. If there are paid amounts, then those exceptions need to be rectified prior to settling the payments under the next drop-down, Ready to Receipt. Within the Ready to Receipt drop-down, proceed to receipt the paid claims as you normally would, so that they are included in your end of financial year totals. The next area to check is the Eclipse IMC transmission window. Within the Daily tab of Maintenance and Reports, click on the Eclipse IMC transmission. If there are any claims sitting in the Submitted drop-down, highlight and then click on Get Report Status. Click on the Submitted drop-down to change to the next status, Awaiting Processing Report. Again, if there are any claims within this list, select and then click on Get Processing Report. Within the next drop-down list option, Exceptions to Review, similar to the steps that we checked in the Medicare and DVA transmission, review the exceptions to see if there are any paid claims. If there are any paid amounts, these exceptions will need to be rectified prior to receiving the payment. However, if there are no paid amounts, these exceptions do not necessarily need to be actioned right now prior to your end of financial year. Click on the Exceptions to Review dropdown and select the next stage, Awaiting Remittance Advice. Once again, if there are any claims within this list, select the claim and then click on Get Remittance Advice. Once the drop-down list options have been actioned, proceed to the Ready to Receipt to then receipt and store these payments in Genie so that they can get included in your end of financial year totals. The last group of third-party accounts that may often get overlooked are those that are generally processed manually, such as work cover, TAC, public to private in-hospital claims, etc. This will require you to either check any paperwork that may have been sent from these third parties and/or you may need to check the relevant bank accounts to see whether the third parties have direct deposited those payments. Go to Open All on the top and select Account Holder. Search for the third-party account holder as required. Click to select the account holder from the list and then go to the billing menu along the top. Select Receipt. Within the receipt window, enter in the total payment amount in the relevant payment method field. The most common will be direct deposit or check. Change the date to the date received. Go through the list and allocate the payment against each invoiced line. If the amount received is less, allocate the correct amount. Once the remains to be allocated drops down to 0, click on the Store button down below. Once you have stored the payment, go to the account history, locate the invoice that was underpaid by $4, and then what we want to do is then allocate or add in a credit to balance the actual account down to 0. Make sure you change the reason accordingly for auditing purposes. On a side note, it is best practice to record and reconcile payments in Genie as close to the payment date as possible to ensure that you are not needing to backdate extensive periods of time, which in turn can alter your end of month or end of quarter reports. The daily banking report often gets neglected as there is a misconception that you only need to do your banking if you are physically going to the bank to deposit your cash and checks. If a practice only reconciles at the end of the week, this may cause some confusion when trying to settle the totals and to fix any mistakes when discrepancies are detected. We generally recommend that you reconcile your end of day takings by checking the banking report each day and cross-referencing this with your EFTPOS merchant copy receipts or the settlement that prints out from your EFTPOS terminal. As a rule of thumb, it is best practice to fix any financial mistakes on the day, as this will be less confusing and ensure reporting integrity. Once any financial mistakes are detected and rectified, then one should proceed to reconcile and seal the banking. To reconcile and seal your banking, go to the File menu, select Maintenance and Reports, click on the Daily tab, and then select Daily Banking Report. Change the banking code if you are reconciling per bank account for individual doctors. Double-check the totals in the Show Totals button. And if everything matches with your EFTPOS settlement and your cash in your till, all you need to do is simply print out a copy, staple your merchant copy receipts, and that is a form of reconciling. Then either click on the Reconcile button to mark it as reconciled, or click on Seal to batch the actual group of transactions for the day. Click on OK to confirm, and then OK to acknowledge. You should only seal the banking once all financial errors and mistakes have been rectified. because once you have sealed the batch, you cannot reprint that batch with the amended amounts. If the practice has never ever sealed their banking, this would be a good opportunity to start for the new financial year. Unless you plan to reconcile for past dates, using the Show Until Date option found in the top left, seal all past transactions so that it's blank for the new financial year. The next topic that we're going to look at is the difference between cash and accrual accounts. What you need to report on differently if using cash accounting or accrual accounting, and how the invoice date and receipt date affects end of financial year reporting. Depending on whether your practice uses cash accounting or accrual accounting, certain reports are required by your accountant to ensure that the right totals are reported to the tax office. Cash accounting is usually suited for smaller practices and relies on accurate receipting, as all reports obtained are based on the receipt date. Whilst accrual accounting is generally suited for much larger practices and relies on accurate invoicing, as the invoice date is essential for this reporting. If you are unsure, ensure that you talk to your practice accountant or bookkeeper. Cash accounting tracks all physical transactions coming in and going out of your business. When you invoice a patient, you only report the income once the invoice has been paid for. So for example, if a patient has an appointment on Monday but doesn't pay the invoice until Wednesday, you will only report the income on the Wednesday for cash accounting. Therefore, the receipt date is of vital importance in your reports. Accrual accounting records all services provided, regardless of whether they've been paid or not. This method of accounting reflects both paid and projected income. So for example, if a patient has an appointment on Monday but doesn't pay for their invoice, you will still report this as income on the Monday, regardless of when the patient pays. Therefore, recording invoice dates accurately based on the service date is necessary for accrual accounting. Under accrual accounting, a clear record of what is owed and what has been prepaid, such as deposits, is usually required by your bookkeeper or accountant. For further clarification, please consult with your bookkeeper or accountant to ensure that the correct reports are generated. There are several financial reports that may need to be considered depending on whether you do cash accounting or accrual accounting. The main report that everyone will need is to generate the billing versus income report. If you sell products or have any services with the GST component, the GST totals can also be found in the billing versus income report. Additionally, if the practice is using accrual accounting, then the age debtors report will need to be generated for your bookkeeper or accountant. The billing versus income report will allow you to see an overview of what you've billed and receipted in a set period, as well as detailed reports for both. This is the main financial report in Genie and is the one that you should use for your end of financial year reporting. Go to the File menu in the top left, then select Maintenance and Reports. Click on the Practice Analysis tab along the top, and then Billing versus Income Reports. The next window will appear, prompting you to select a period. Click on the drop-down and select Last Financial Year. If you are generating this report on the last day of the financial year, click to select this financial year. Leave the Subdivide by Provider selected and click OK to continue. To print out a report for your bookkeeper or accountant, click to select the provider in the list and then click on the Print Breakdown. If your bookkeeper or accountant requires a more detailed report, you can click on the Print or Export Sales for accrual accounting or Print Export Receipts for cash accounting. The print breakdown is a detailed report of your invoicing and receipt totals. The first part of the report will show the invoice totals used for accrual accounting, which includes a breakdown between private, Medicare, DVA, and other organizational billing, as well as any credits and discounts that may have been applied to the invoices issued. The second part of the report shows the receipt totals, separating actual receipts for work performed, which is used for cash accounting, whilst a separate value is specified for deposits and prepayments, as these are not usually included in cash accounting, but will be reported for accrual accounting. The print export sales report shows all items invoiced during the selected time period, in this case, the last financial year. Whereas the print export receipts list all receipts regardless of whether the actual invoice were issued during this time period or not. The age debtors report is normally run to show an outstanding total as of the end of financial year. This is normally required by your bookkeeper or accountant if the practice is using accrual accounting. Go to the File menu in the top left, then select Maintenance and Reports. Click on the Practice Analysis tab along the top, and then Age Debtors Report. The next window will appear, prompting you to select an as of and cut-off date. Usually the as of date is left as today, whilst the cut-off date should be changed to the 30th of June. You can select all providers or each individual provider accordingly. When preparing for your end of financial year, unprinted invoices should also be included. Click on OK to proceed. This report can then be exported to Excel or printed and sent to your bookkeeper or accountant. Finally, we will look at preparing your practice for the new financial year, which includes running fee schedule updates, updating the assistant fee threshold, and increasing your private fees. To ensure that you are billing correct fees when processing Medicare bulk bill claims, DVA Veteran Affairs, and Eclipse in-hospital claims, it is recommended that you check for fee schedule updates in the Software Updates window. The sequence of fees updates should be the Medicare schedule first, as this ensures that any new MBS codes are imported into the Genie system, followed by the DVA Department of Veteran Affairs fees, then AHSA, which covers the majority of your health funds, all other health funds such as Bupa, HCF, Medibank Private, NIB, and other smaller regional health funds, and finally, any work cover fees that may be required in your state. Server backups are normally managed by your IT technician, and these can take a number of forms. Commonly, offsite backups, USB flash drives, or hard drive backups, and these should occur daily. If you are unsure about your backup protocol, please consult your IT technician. The local workstation backup process that we are highlighting here is primarily completed prior to fee schedule updates. Therefore, you do not need to contact your IT every time you need to update your fees. To initiate the local workstation backup, go to the File menu in the top left and then Maintenance and Reports. Then select Server Admin window in the bottom right. Following this, click on the Maintenance button found along the top, and then the Start Backup button down below. Once the backup has been initiated, Genie will show a progress bar in the lower left. And once completed, the date and time under the last backup information will update to reflect the recent backup. It is important to run a backup prior to running any upgrades or fee schedule updates, just in case there were any issues during the update process. In the Software Updates window via the Special menu, click on the Fee Schedule tab. If a fee schedule is up to date, it will be ticked on the right-hand side. We recommend that one fee schedule is run at a time. To update the fee, tick on the left, followed by clicking on the Install One Item button found in the lower right. A confirmation window appears. Click on Apply Now. If the health fund name matches the Eclipse name, Genie will automatically apply the fees accordingly. However, in this situation where we are updating NIB, our Genie has both NIB and Qantas listed as a health fund. So when we are running the fee schedule update for NIB, this will need to be run again for the affiliated health fund. So in this instance, for Qantas as well. Once you have updated your Medicare schedule, it is equally important to also double check the assistant fee threshold, as this will determine which item code gets invoiced for assistant billing. To check what the current threshold is, go to the Open menu in the top left and then select Billing Items. Click on the magnifying glass and search for either 51300 or 51303. Double-click on the item number, and at the end of the description is the new assistant threshold. Highlight and copy the threshold using the keyboard shortcut Control-C or on a Mac Command-C, and then close the window. In the top right-hand corner, to paste the new fee, use Control-V or on a Mac Command-V. The new financial year is often the time when practices consider increasing their private fees to align with yearly price increases in running costs. To update your private fees, go to the Open menu along the top and once again select Billing Items. If you only have a few private fees set, search for the item number by clicking on the magnifying glass, type in the item number, and then click on OK. Double-click on the item number in question. Over on the right-hand side, what you want to do is slow double-click the fee and then enter in your new fee. If you have multiple doctors at the practice and each have their own fees, check the custom fees found at the bottom of the list, which normally appear in purple. Slow double-click the fee and enter in the new amount. Then click on Save in the bottom right. Alternatively, if your practice has private fees set for a range of services, you can quickly increase all your fees by a set percentage or dollar value. Within the billing item window, click on the Increase Fees button found along the top. Select the fees schedule from the drop-down list. You can then select by a percentage or by an amount. Enter in the amount or percentage as needed. If you are increasing the fees by a percentage, you can round to the nearest cent. So if you wanted to round the value to the nearest dollar, enter in 100 cents. Once the criteria has been set, click on OK to apply. Alternatively, some practices may choose to base their fees on the schedule fee or AMA fee. Simply click on the appropriate radio button and enter in the value accordingly. Once again, if you also want to round to the nearest 100 cent, simply apply that down below. Upon clicking on OK, another window will appear asking you to confirm, and Genie will now run through and update the fees accordingly. On a side note, if you wanted to decrease your fees, simply place a minus in front of the percentage or amount.